Hello everyone, Summon Bard here, or you can call me Sully. And yes, you're seeing this right, I still have my Pride stuff up in July. And you also may be wondering why I'm doing a Pride Love video on the 4th of July. Well, there are a couple of reasons. One is that there isn't a lot of Independence Day related movies or shows within the special effects or animation media. And yes, there are a few I could go over, but given the current situation of events here in the US, I really don't feel right in doing them. And, not to be political or anything, but, by the time a certain president leaves, I'll be able to do a whole July dedicated to nothing but these. I hope so, anyway. Plus, this isn't the first time I missed out on doing a 4th of July review. Second is that, since Pride Love's a brand new theme month for me, I wanted to expand this a bit more by covering movies that are LGBTQ-light. As is, they're films that are loosely Pride related, meaning they're movies that have characters that are either queer in theory, or have queer characters in a very brief moment for a non-Pride film. So I'm labeling this as Pride Love Plus for that reason, and it's only done for the first week in July. And thirdly, it kinda gives me the excuse to go over a movie in a lineup that I started with by reviewing Turning Red. Yes, for Pride Love Plus, I'm reviewing a Pixar film that was released on streaming and then got a limited theatrical release in 2024. And that movie has been the talk of assuming the film has allegories to LGBTQ themes of showing your true self, or if the male leads are more than friends. And while it's not confirmed by the director, it was appreciated regardless. First released on Disney Plus on June 18th, 2021, and then given a limited theatrical release on March 22nd, 2024, is the Pixar original film, Luca. Director Enrico Casarosa has made an alright adventure fantasy with alright characters, a fine story, and good animation. Set in the Italian Riviera in the 1950s, a young sea monster shepherd named Luca Pagro becomes curious about the surface when seeing objects on the seafloor and a boat passing by. Yet Luca's mother Daniela forbids him from not just going to the surface, but from talking about it, even as Luca's father Lorenzo pays little attention to his son, and Luca's grandmother had some experience yet is not told to tell. However, Luca's curiosity gets the better of him when he meets another sea monster named Alberto Scarfano, who shows him the surface world only for them to become human when dry. Luca and Alberto quickly grow a friendship together, building and testing a Vespa and exploring the island they're on. But Luca's parents find out that he went to the surface, and Daniela decides to send Luca to the deep sea to live with Lorenzo's brother Ugo for the rest of the summer season. Afraid of being sent away, Luca stays up on the surface with Alberto, but fears of his parents finding him. So he and Alberto go to the seaport of Porto Rosso, a town known for hunting sea monsters despite some people not believing in them. Luca and Alberto, in wanting to get a real Vespa to travel on, meet Enrico Frescanti, the seaport bully who always brags about his wins in the Porto Rosso Cup, which is a triathlon of swimming, eating pasta, and biking through the town and down the tallest hill, and of his Vespa which he won with his earnings in the race last year. But even as Luca and Alberto are being bullied, a young girl named Giulia Marcoverto saves them, and the boys ask about being part of the race, which Giulia agrees as they become a team. Giulia will swim, Alberto will eat, and Luca will bike. And upon staying with Giulia and her fisherman father Massimo, Luca and Alberto train for the cup, hoping to earn enough to buy a Vespa, as Luca's parents surface from the sea to find their son, and Urco continues to threaten the boys into leaving, even if it means nearly killing them. In many ways, this has a slight charm to it, with the film being wholly Italian, from the text being Italian, to being set in the fictional Italy seaport of Porto Rosso, which its name is cleverly inspired by the Studio Ghibli film Porco Rosso, to the accents and use of Italian words, some of which are thick, and to having a soundtrack of Italian songs. There are some cute moments in it, mostly in seeing Luca and Giulia befriending one another, and Luca as his sea monster self is adorable. The fantasy sequences Luca has are colorful and imaginative, the drawings during the end credits are neat, from the movie-inspired 2D ones to the ones done in a Paul Coker-esque style. And in spite of the likable character designs, there were faces that seem odd, but not too bad, expression-wise and occasionally a side profile. Most notably Julia's side profile, which reminds me of Lucy Van Pelt from the Peanuts. So, that's what I most like about it. What I don't like about it hinders me from enjoying it thoroughly. For one, this uses elements from Disney's The Little Mermaid, with the main lead curious about the surface and wanting to go there, while the parents forbid it in any way. Typically the same even if the outcome is completely different. Luca's deep-sea Uncle Ugo is not only an odd character to me, but Sacha Baron Cohen's voice felt like an uneasy earworm to me, and yet his dialogue is very forgettable. The first time Luca came out of the water, by force from Alberto, it felt too soon to me considering the second time he surfaced by himself it was done better, showing a slower reveal of his human form than his first time. I get that it establishes Luca's first taste of the surface, but I prefer the more gradual approach where he's very hesitant and tries to learn from Alberto. But then there's Urkel, who's the most unlikable character of the whole film, unsurprising given he's the main antagonist. He's very arrogant, selfish, and egotistical in the most exaggerated ways, caring only about himself and his wins at the Portorosso Cup, and sometimes mean-spiritedly brutal. And he even scares the kids into liking him and annoys the adults for being so self-centered. And if I made a list of my least favorite Pixar characters, which would be rare by the way, he would definitely be on top. And yet, I myself was okay with the film as it went on, but by the time Hiroko showed up, things started to dwindle for me. However, one major aspect, which is basically talking points, is the film having LGBTQ themes of showing your true self and whether or not Luca and Alberto are gay. Now, of course, the film confirms the boys to be friends, and I'm okay with that, since Alberto becomes jealous of Luca for hanging out with Julia than with him, like any normal friend would. But some of the traits Alberto displays, from his attitude and how he wraps his arms around Luca, may have implications that Alberto is gay, while Luca's straight or perhaps bisexual. It's not something I would make headcanon as would go against the film's intent, but I would more than welcome it, especially by the end when both boys tear up as they move their separate ways, with Luca going to school with Julia and Alberto staying with Massimo. As for the themes of showing your true self, it's a little hard for me to pin down since Alberto and Luca are human for most of the film, and the film hardly addresses the theme in general, so I'm not even sure. In any case, I think this is an alright Pixar film. It's not one of my favorites given my issues with it, but I like it enough for some of the characters, the Italian atmosphere, the look and animation of it all, and the welcome implications of the main leads being gay. That and having themes of showing your true selves, even if they're sea monsters. And for a Pixar film released on Disney+, it's not too bad. 2.5 plus, or 2.5 mixed rainbows. And so that is it for Pride Love Plus. So thank you for joining me, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you soon in the next video.